Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of the Fishing Teacher, and really appreciate you guys coming by the channel to check today's video out because we got a on the water video for you guys today. We're going to be talking about fishing bluff banks in the fall time of the year. At the time of filming this video, we're the first week in November. November and December are our top months to fish bluff banks. So I've got a nice little bluff bank here on the lake, and I'm sort of going to go down this and sort of explain to you how I like to fish bluffs and what I like to look for. So we're going to get into that today's video. And also, guys, since it is November, I wanted to remind you about the Tackle Warehouse Black Friday sale they got going on all month long. 20% off on almost everything on the website. It's a good time to buy some tackle. I'll put my Tackle Warehouse Black Friday sale link in the description if you're interested. So much appreciated. So, okay, guys, I'm going to turn the camera around here and we'll go down this bank and sort of talk about it a little bit. Okay, guys, here is a typical bluffy type bank. You can see some of the steeper stuff there, but depending upon the lake that you're at, some of the bluffs have, you know, mixed rock here with some very sharp, vertical bluffs on it. And they've got just a mix of different type of transitions. Some of them are straight, some of them are mixed up. Now this particular one, we got a little bit of a mix on it that it's going to change as we get down here. So I'm going to sort of pick apart here and show you how I like to fish it. Now, guys, anytime you're on a bluff bank and you've got some type of transition like this, like where it goes to gravel, to different type of rock, this is going to be a really key area right here. So make sure that you really fish through these transition areas really thoroughly. I'll go over techniques as far as the baits here in a second after we get down through here. But the main thing about it is when you're fishing a bluff like this, you have to really pay attention to the water depth that you're fishing under, because the water depth is going to be really indicative of the techniques and how far that you fish off of the bank. So always remember that, because some of the bluffs are like really steep right against the bluff itself, and some of them, you know, stair step down. Like for example, we're about probably 20 foot off the bank here and it's 10 foot deep. So this is what I consider a non-channel bluff bank, which can still be good. You know, a channel bluff bank is where the channel swings in tight. So, you can still catch fish on either one, but mainly, if you've got a steep bank, like a real sharp drop off, you're going to have to get in a little tighter to the bank. So if I've got an area on a bluff that really drops off fast, I'm going to get in tight like this, and I'm going to make some of my casts parallel to the rocks, so I can stay in that target zone. But then again, like if I'm on a little bit flatter bank, like we're on right here, I may get out a little bit more, because those fish could be anywhere, from the rock all the way down into 8 or 10 feet. Now, we're coming up here. This is a little bit more of a traditional type of a bluff setup here, because we're getting in some more of the vertical walls that we come in here. Now, one of the things about it is when you're talking about a vertical wall bluff, like you've got right here in front of us, most of the time, these aren't quite as good as the areas that have some type of mixed rock like this. Now, not to say it can't, because it depends on the angle of it, but I have found myself is like when I go down these bluff banks, these areas like this that have some type of a variation in the rock are key areas, and the areas like this that are just straight bluffy areas, not quite so much. I mean, not say you can't catch them, but it just seems like there's not as much cover for those fish to use there. Another thing with bluffs, guys, is like you can see here, most bluffs have a lot of trees on them. So depending upon the time of the day, these bluffs are going to catch a lot of shade right here. This is really critical in the fall time of the year, because if you get a nice high bluff like this with some trees on it, you can have shade here, over half of the day. So one of the biggest pieces of advice I can give you on these bluff banks is run the shade. The shady bluffs are always better than anything else, especially if you got a little bit cleaner water. So, I try to fish the bluffs on the lake depending upon the angle of the sun. So say for example, this is a south facing bluff right here. So, this is going to be really good. It's, a little bit more better in the morning, and in the evening time, depending upon how the bluffs are positioned, it could be a different type of an area. So that's how you sort of read them there. Now let's talk a little bit about technique. Okay, guys, the techniques that I use on bluffs, it depends on a lot of different stuff. It doesn't really depend on water temperature as much as it depends on water clarity and the depth that the water drops off on the bluff. Now, one of my favorite lures on a bluff is a jig. Just take some type of a jig, depending upon the water clarity, and just pitch it right to the bluff bank. Work it down into 5 or 10 feet of water, just sort of methodically, pick your way through. This is going to be really good if you have a bluff that doesn't have a lot of rock transition or rock on it. If you got more of just the steeper type rock like that. Now, if there's some type of rock transition to it and you've got a, some type of a moderate slope, you can't go wrong with like paralleling it with a crankbait. Crankbaits parallel to rocky banks and bluffs are really good in the fall time of the year. This is the time of year I really start using the crawdad patterns. It's a little bit early for a lot of people, but paralleling these bluff banks with the crawdad crankbait can be really good. If you have a lake that's got water visibility of over 4 feet, and especially if you have a lake that has a mixed species, like it's got some largemouth spotted bass and a smallmouth bass in it, a shaky head or Ned rig is going to be really good. Instead of pitching that jig to there, just back off, shaky head, Ned rig, and a little bit cleaner water, and that can be good. Topwater can also be good. Some type of a walking topwater, a buzz bait, depending upon the water clarity. And finally, one of my top, bluff banks of all time is a swim bait or a glide bait. If you're gonna catch fish on bluffs on a glide bait or swim bait, November and December are the 2 top months to do it, especially if you got the water visibility of over about 4 feet. But the water clarity is going to dictate the depth that you need to fish. And in general, if you're fishing water visibility, like right here where I'm at, we've got less than 2 foot of water visibility. If you've got less than 2 foot of water visibility, most of those fish are going to be in less than 5 foot of water. And as that water visibility gets cleaner and cleaner, those fish are going to be a little bit deeper sometimes, or they're going to be tight to the shade. Sometimes they can be suspended if you have real clear water. But the main thing on bluffs, guys, is just it can be a boring way to fish because a lot of the bluffs are really uniform and they look the same for just miles and miles. And a lot of it's just covering water. I mean, sometimes you can't key on anything specific. Now, you're going to have high target areas, like there could be a laydown tree or an isolated rock or an irregular feature on the bluff or a rock slide, something like that. And those are going to be high percentage areas. But a lot of times they're just random. They can be on a nothing looking part of the bluff. They can be on a good looking part of the bluff. You just sort of have to really be efficient, just work every bit of it. And if you're getting bit, it really helps out a lot because the monotony of fishing bluffs without getting a bite gets old really quick. So anyway, if you've never fished bluffs, guys, November, December, 2 of the top months to fish it. Really good time. So hope it helps out. We'll talk later.